Welcome to Behind the Curtain, Nashville's movers, shakers,
and tastemakers.
Brought to you by Chord Real Estate, your key to the heart of Nashville. I'm Steve Luther alongside my co-host Van Hohe.
Here we peel back the layers of Nashville's vibrant scene, sitting down with the innovators, creators, and leaders who shape our city. From music to business and everything in between, we dive into the journeys that have brought them to where they are today.
We're here to uncover the stories behind the success, the passion driving their pursuits, and why they've chosen Nashville as their stage. It's about the people who dream big, push boundaries, and make this city truly unique.
So join us as we explore the heart and soul of Nashville through the eyes of those who know it best.
Well, on today's show, we welcome Sir James Richardson.
Ooh, sir.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
okay. I don't know if I have authority to do that.
I
But,
don't think so.
you know,
The king can only do that.
Sir James Richardson, a dynamic British investor and a newly minted American citizen.
That's right.
Transitioning from a high-profile career in the Big Four and an accomplished real estate investor, James stepped into the role of a full-time business investor to capitalize on what CNBC has termed the greatest wealth transfer in history. Managing a growing portfolio that boasts $15 million in annual revenue and employs over 45 people, James not only runs Business Buying Brit to teach others the art of business acquisition, but also brings a wealth of experience in flipping houses and managing rental properties. His journey reflects a commitment to seizing opportunities and helping others create significant financial advancements. Welcome to the show, James.
Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
I'll take the sir piece as well. I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
Just let the queen know. Let the queen know it's been done.
The queen consort now. It's the king. You got to talk to the king.
Okay, well, the king.
Catch up.
King. I'll put in a call to William.
He's not the king.
Well, he's going to be soon.
Hey, now we can't talk like that.
Well, James, we've known each other for quite a while now.
Moving right along.
Yeah, let's hear, kind of what brought you to the U.S., kind of how you started out, a little bit about what you were doing when you were with the Big Four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, time flies. We have known each other for a long time now. So I moved to America in 2015. I was in my late 20s. I moved by myself, single, from London to New York. I then met my wife in New York, and so cut a long story short, I never left America. And so it was meant to be a 2-year work assignment, just kind of extended, and then we ended up getting married.
His high fashion model wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
She is.
We decided to move to Nashville, which I think is when, our relationship started around then. And my real estate investing career in Nashville, like the majority of my real estate investing career has been in and around Nashville, or at least expanded from here. And so you guys at Chord played a key role in that. I think the first one was actually when I was remote in New York still.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then we moved and we continued from this point on. So it's nice to be here today on your podcast in a different capacity. But yeah, I mean, the Big Four I'm very grateful for that as a start in my career. It trained me in lots of different areas, not just financially, but I mean, learning accounting was a big piece of that. But I think it started to set the scene. So the real estate investing was a piece. I was always doing that on the side because I wasn't fully content with my accounting job. I knew I probably wasn't forever. So like the accounting plus the investing experience in real estate all led me to businesses, which is what I ultimately wanted to do. And then we can go through the steps that got me there. But in 2022, I had kind of a now or never moment. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And then I'll be kind of stuck, in this career that I'm not fully fulfilled in.
Right.
And so that's kind of the short kind of leaps to get there, and we can unpack however you want. But that's what I do now. I've done it for over 2 years now, full time. So I haven't had a job for over 2 years. I've been a full-time investor, and I really love it.
You want to talk a little bit about kind of what your role was, before making the transition? You were sort of dealing with companies that were going through a struggle a little bit. Talk a little bit about what your background was there.
Yeah, so it was 12 and a half years at PricewaterhouseCoopers, so one of the Big Four, and the majority of that time was spent in restructuring. And so that means different things. So in the UK, we had a very large restructuring practice, so we had lots of areas of specialism within the team. So I was doing more operational restructuring at that point in time, But when I moved to America in 2015, it became a lot more about the balance sheet and financial restructuring. And then often these companies that were in trouble were considering a Chapter 11, or some of them didn't end up doing a Chapter 11, but they were in that kind of state. So if you get in early to a company that's struggling, you can work with it hopefully to avoid an in-court proceeding. But often they end up in that Chapter 11. I mean, when I think about companies that are failing, companies are either failing from an operational perspective, something maybe way off, like their sales, marketing, something like that, or they could actually be doing a great job there, but they've got an unsustainable balance sheet. So you kind of can segment these failing companies up into buckets.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up working a lot with Chapter 11 cases. Again, great experience, worked with big name law firms, investment bankers, investors, like all of these advisors come together to help a company through Chapter 11. So great experience, but long hours, lots of travel. There was the travel piece actually was a big component, again, of pushing me into doing something else. Because when my oldest child was born, I remember FaceTiming my wife and my daughter, and I was I think in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana at the time, and I was like, I don't want to be at this holiday inn right now. I want to be back home.
Right.
So that will kind of help compound into the actual decision to move as well.
Yeah. Now, were there sort of common themes, like were there problems that kind of every company you were dealing with was going through? What were some of the typical issues you were dealing with?
Honestly, I've seen some really weird situations, so it's really hard to say this is typical. I think there's one component, which is I try and sell myself now in my investment firm as I'm not private equity, because I think and I've seen private equity go bad, which is where you buy at the height of the market, the private equity firm, probably from a Dallas, a Chicago, and New York, remotely just levers up the company as high as it possibly can, and then the market comes down slightly, you can't meet your debt service, company gets into trouble, and these guys are still remote, not really realizing that they've screwed over a company and hundreds of employees, and that's like kind of the typical picture of private equity gone bad. So I've seen that for sure. And then I've also done some other scenarios. So I worked on a really large airbag manufacturer, which went into Chapter 11, and they changed the compound that explodes the airbag, and the airbag basically was shooting shrapnel towards the face of the person in the the front seats. And so because of that, then there's a lot of litigation around that.
Sure.
That was a big case. So that's can't really predict that.
Right.
And then I worked on another Chapter 11 case where this was actually the first Chapter 11 in this country to reference COVID as one of the causes for the Chapter 11. But it was only a component, because the other component was this. It was a pharmaceutical device company. It was a patch on your arm for diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
They were going through a sale process, a regular M&A sale, and the buyer found in diligence that there was a small rubber component in this device that was faulty. And that meant all of their inventory was obsolete immediately.
Wow.
And then they ran out of cash, and it was this was just at the end of 2019 into 2020, and their device was manufactured in China. And so then we were hearing this, these rumblings of, well, the workers may have to just stay home for like a week because there's this thing called COVID going around. And that just grew, and there was no cash, no product, and now we couldn't make any more product. And so that filed in early 2020, around March, basically just as we think of COVID hitting America.
Right.
So, I mean, that again, can't really foresee that. But again, that was a use of a single supplier for a small component of the device. I mean, that was a different type of error.
So you were working with companies of all sizes.
All sizes, yeah. Multi-billion-dollar companies down to still quite large in comparison to what I do now, but like on the smaller size, maybe $20 to $50 million of revenue is probably on the low side. And now I deal with companies that do $10 million a year in revenue. I've jumped down again, but I like the jump down, because the larger the company, the less. This is a generalization, right? So please excuse my generalization, but people don't care as much when you get to the large multi-billion-dollar companies, because everyone's a W-2 employee.
Right.
No one really cares like someone who's built the thing.
Right.
Who's poured their blood, sweat, tears, decades of their life into this thing. So that's the type of people I like to work with now.
So you get in there with them.
Now, because I buy these companies, it's part of, I feel like it's a calling and almost a ministry, if you want to go that far with.
Wow.
we are providing a legacy to people who want to retire,
Mm.
and we are genuinely doing our best for the company. We're not coming in like PE and cutting people to maximize profit. We're trying to come with a mindset of, if this company has been successful for 35 years, then I should probably look at how they're doing things, because it's clearly working. So we keep it the same and then just slowly make changes over time. Maybe we can upgrade some systems and other things, but for the most part, the base should stay the same. So that's often different to an approach of coming in and thinking you know everything, having a huge ego.
He needs his own TV show.
Well, he's
Yeah,
got the business buying Brit thing he does.
I'm saying.
Yeah, you should follow me on Instagram.
It's like, good night. I guess I need to get on Instagram.
Hey, I make daily content for
Do you?
people who are interested in buying businesses. I post at least once a day online, and Instagram's the primary content, and then we're starting to branch out into YouTube, TikTok, and all other platforms.
You heard it here first.
Not really. He's been doing this a while.
Our friends who are watching today.
Okay. Well, before we dive more into the buying businesses, what got you into real estate investing?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't get asked it very much on podcasts, the real estate piece. I think I did read Rich Dad Poor Dad as a probably late teens.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in England at the time, and I remember thinking, oh man, like, it's all right for him, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki,
Right.
go out and go jogging and just find a distressed property and just pay for it. Fine. And I remember kind of trying to apply that to my life and thinking, maybe if I work really hard as an accountant or something similar, maybe one day I could have 2 houses, and then so my mindset started to shift over time, and I realized this is available to anyone. And I know there's some cultural components, so maybe it's not quite the same in the UK, but in this room here, we have good friends of all of ours in the UK doing this, so you can do it in other countries. But it just slowly grew over time. I think I just like the idea of the hard assets and the cash flow that these can generate. So I've been attracted to the more alternative retirement saving. We can go into this, but I cashed in my 401k to jump into buying businesses. So at that point, I just ditched all conventional.
You're
investing.
all in.
I'm all in. But you got to
it.
bet on yourself at some point, and that was my bet. I needed some reserves to make sure this goes well. And looking back, I'm pleased I cashed in my 401k, but it's not right for everyone.
Right.
I say that to the camera.
Not financial advice.
I totally agree. I mean, I got out of my retirement accounts and stuff. And yeah, I'm pretty all in on real estate and crypto, and doing my own thing. I do think I'm going to have to get into buying businesses though at some point, because
it's amazing.
Well, we can talk anytime you want to talk.
So you said this was kind of a ministry for you. What was you said in 2022, there was a moment of like, it's now or never. What was that thing that just put you over the edge? This is what I want to do. And why this?
So I think if I had to pick a life verse for me, like Joshua 1:9 is a big one, which is, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that's Joshua as he's taking over from Moses, and he's scared. He's got to lead this army of grumbling people who can't stop complaining into the promised land. That's, obviously a big deal. And so I think with the now or never moment, I didn't want to regret not doing it, and I didn't want to not take action because of fear. And ultimately, I think there's an exercise you can do. You can think, okay, well, I could leave my job, buy a business. Maybe it goes into bankruptcy, or like the worst situation I can think of. What would then happen? Probably have to get a job in something I'm skilled in. Well, I'll probably have to go back to restructuring and get a job. Well, that's what I'm doing now. It's like a circle loop.
Right.
Okay, well, look, I'm very grateful for my job and the people I work with. But my worst case in that example was I'll just be back where I am right now. So might as well give it a go. So I
love it.
That's why I did it. And my wife was supportive. That's a really important thing to note. Like, if Jordan had not been supportive, I don't know what I would have done, because I don't think I could have done it without her support. So I think, marrying well is really important here.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for Jordan and her support through all of this. I mean, because it wasn't easy, because she is now a full-time mom.
Right.
And so it's it's scary for her, and she's taken away from her market. You reference the fact,
Sure.
she was working in the modeling industry in New
That's
York,
right.
and so she can make good money in New York, but in Nashville she cannot.
Right.
It's not the same here.
Right.
So, it took faith on her part, but we decided it was been on my heart long enough, and I just felt like this was what I was meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us a little bit about this wealth transfer that CNBC talked about. I know there's a lot of business owners that are kind of getting to retirement age, whatever that age is now. There are, large companies that buy businesses, but I think there's kind of a minimum that they look at.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like just this massive amount of businesses that are doing, 2 to 10 million in revenue that, don't get looked at by these bigger firms. Give us some insight on that.
So the amount of assets that will transfer changes based on the source, but yeah, maybe 30 trillion up to 100 trillion, some sources will say.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just small numbers here. And of that, a subset of that will be businesses. It's not all going to be businesses.
Right.
But that creates a huge amount of opportunity. So a lot of those assets will go to the next of kin, which is great if you're family from means. My family don't own businesses. And so I had to, you have to approach this and think, okay, well, where is my area here? So you have to find the businesses that are undesirable to the next generation. And so again, not generalizing across all population groups, but people my age don't want to, they're less interested in manufacturing. They're less interested in traditionally blue collar work. They want to move into, kind of white collar work, for lack of a better phrase. And so if you can find those businesses, that is where the opportunity lies. And I think if you get over about $1 million of earnings, you start to get a lot of competition from, private equity shops, investment firms. And I'm seeing more people move into this space, especially real estate investors, but there's still an amazing opportunity right now, but slowly creeping away over time. So I'm seeing the earnings amount come down. So now maybe it's like 800K of earnings or above. There's a lot of competition for. So I'm still seeing a great space from about 300K, maybe 350 of earnings. And I don't like to go lower than that because you're essentially buying a job at that point, up to about 750. So maybe like 350 to 750. That is the biggest window that I see right now at the time of recording this podcast. And most of the businesses I speak to are in that range. And that's good because, going back to the real estate investing, if you buy a hard asset, the amount of money that you would sink into a business for that price, and then a piece of real estate, the ability to scale the business is much greater. Yes, it's more risky. The whole business could go away, especially if it's a service business, no hard assets. But if you can embrace it and really see it for the opportunity, there's a lot more opportunity for increasing your net worth and opportunities and everything that comes with that.
Wow.
Now, what do you do creatively with financing and things like that? Like, I think a lot of people would think like, okay, I'm going to buy a business that's doing, $500,000 in revenue a year. There's some multiplier. Like, where am I going to come up with all this money to buy this business? How do those kinds of things get structured typically?
We've actually used a lot of seller financing in our deal structures. And we haven't had that much of a hard time doing that. There were these gurus online that sell like, buy this for no money down, and stuff like that is too much.
Right.
Like people have to explain that is not the norm. But we've put seller financing in every one of our deals, so you can negotiate it, but it won't always be 100%. I found from my experience that if you meet someone who's been really successful for several decades, they've got the house, they've got the lake house, they've got the nice car, they don't actually want all that money up front because they have a higher capital gains tax bill. They also realize that they can get a higher sales price for the business. And in addition, they can collect interest income. And even if they charge less than a bank would, that's still additional income that they'll collect over time. And, like one day, I think I could easily see myself selling, maybe, I'm not saying 100% seller financing, but I would be interested on the seller side with that because it does make sense for some people. And so I think a lot of these negotiations happen in person. So again, the relationship part is so important here. You can't do these really big deals hiding behind a computer. You actually have to go and meet people face to
Right.
face, and you have to maximize for what the other person wants.
Right.
So everyone wants something different. So we've done, 60% seller financing, 100% seller financing. And I think we've looked at a deal recently where it would be very little seller financing, but there's always, you got to just find out what the other person wants and maximize for that. And then what we want as well. Often I find sellers want way too much for their business. Surprise, surprise. It's their
Right.
baby. They've worked on it
Sure.
for several decades. And so one of the best ways to do that is, fair market value is X. You want Y. I can work up to Y, but in order to get closer to the price you want, which is overpaying, by the way, based on comps 1, 2, 3, I can show you. We're gonna have to work on the way we structure it, which is more seller financing. So again, it's win. We want to make it win-win for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Where do you find the comps and things like that?
There are some sites you can use for comps. If you Google, there are some sites that pop up that show you comps. Like the reliability of that data is sometimes questionable, sometimes it's very good. There are other sites that brokers use that they pay for subscriptions for, where they have, better data. I always question private market, comps, but I think with all of these things, it gives you a ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. And then you need to understand that different industries have different risk weightings, therefore different multiples would apply to it. So a construction business follows the market cycle very closely. It's more risky. Whereas if you have a business with recurring revenue month in, month out, no matter what the economy does, that's going to be a more expensive purchase,
Right.
so you just got to be aware of these things. But it can all be learned.
Sure.
I mean, yeah.
Does it get emotional?
Do I get emotional?
Does it get emotional? Like when the people are selling and you got a relative and you're coming in and you're, I don't know, what are you, does it get like the movies, we're a big business? And
it is emotional. I get emotional when I get really close to the finish line on a business and
Right.
it doesn't work out. I always find that sad because I just think we've done so much work, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So you have to try not to get emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't always done great at that. And then when you actually make a deal, when the seller who's been there for several decades retires, that is emotional too, because
give us an example. Tell us a story.
We always do. We always do question and answers when we are
one
the
that worked.
acquirer.
Give us a good story where it worked.
Oh gosh. Well, because I want to keep the identities of the sellers who
of course,
confidential. But when on day one we come in, and it's always super secret up until day one. Okay. So day one we arrive, and then you have to let the seller say their piece. Like, this is what I've decided to do. I've moved on.
Right.
I've decided to sell to James.
I've got my company. I'm ready to sell it. I haven't told my kids. Is it like that where they haven't told their family?
Their family generally knows, but the employees generally don't.
And they're like, who's this British guy showing up at the office?
Yeah, exactly.
Today?
Like, who's this guy with a weird accent? Like,
right,
why can't I listen to him? But you have to let the seller have their piece, which often means tears. Like, it really does, because this is their life,
Right.
And then people are automatically skeptical of you as the newbie. So then this is who I am. Do you have any questions for me? I'm here to answer as honestly as I can. And we're here to keep things the same. And if there is change, it will be because we see more opportunity for growth, more opportunities for you. So that's kind of the messaging, which is true, by the way. I'm not just saying things. Like, that's how we try and approach things.
So you're the Brad Pitt and Meet Joe Black, or you're ushering the old rich guy out and you're letting him know how it's going to be.
Have I seen that movie?
It's probably before your time.
Yeah. Brad Pitt's not that old, is he? I don't know. What's the movie?
Meet Joe Black.
I feel like I need to watch that. I think I've seen it. Sorry.
Sorry, Brad.
Yeah. Sorry, Brad.
Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins. There you go. Yeah. He's the real deal.
Yeah, real.
Now, how do you find the businesses?
Generally not through a broker, which is what people assume.
Right.
I'd like to encourage people to, if you're really serious, you have to actually be bold enough to tell people you want to start buying businesses. And so I didn't have a home base anywhere in this country. So I always say, like, if I can do it, I think other people who actually are from somewhere in this country, who have like a hometown and networks already, they can probably do it too. So you have to tell your small business owner friends that you want to buy a business and say, if you know anyone, introduce me. That's how one of ours came about. You can tell your CPA, your lawyer, wealth manager, anyone who works for small businesses, tell them. So we had one come through our CPA, and then go to networking events. So, and tell people, everyone. I had these business cards I gave out, and one came through a networking event. I just met independent business consultant who then called me, 6 weeks later and said, I've got a business in my hometown that's for sale. Are you interested? Yes.
Wow.
So it's just starting to network and tell people.
Are you trying to say I could buy a business?
You could.
Do you hear the hesitancy?
I,
You could.
do you want to? Would you
I don't
want
know.
to?
I've never thought about it. I've only started businesses. I've never thought to buy somebody's business.
Well, I think you have to be passionate about it. As in, you have to. That has to really excite you. Because some people, I think, are wired for starting.
Right.
I don't think starting is as much my thing. But taking something on that's already existing actually excites me. So I think that's kind of a good acid test for people listening.
It's good.
But if you change your mind, let me know. And
yeah. Never know. We might want to do something, right? Who knows?
How do you decide what kinds of businesses you're interested in? Are you looking for businesses that can integrate with each other? Or you just don't care really what the industry is? What's your litmus test?
So a lot of people do the platform and roll up model where they pick one industry because they want to do it, and then they try and buy other businesses that are exactly the same but smaller to roll up into a larger platform, because as something gets bigger, it gets more valuable. It's de-risked from the end buyer perspective. That's kind of classic M&A PE theory. I didn't do that. I just was like scattergun. Like, I want to leave my job and I want to leave it immediately. So I want to buy a business that makes some money.
Wow.
And so we just was like, I don't necessarily, I kind of recommend it.
Like laundromats?
No, what everyone wants to buy laundromats. And so prices of those going up.
I was just kidding.
But people, I get messages probably every week on Instagram being like, hey man, I want to buy a car wash or a laundromat.
Really?
Could you help me? Like, everyone wants to buy a car wash or a laundromat. And
because everyone's been told, oh, those are cash cows. Like, they don't take anything, just the money rolls in.
Passive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's another topic to talk about, because none of this is passive. Like, even if you manage to hire away the roles of like running the companies, your brain is still going to be there.
Right.
You care, and it's your business, and it's your livelihood on the line. It's your debt that you're paying off. So of course you care. It's not passive.
But you don't care what kind of business it is. It's just,
I do now. I'm starting to narrow in a bit more. I'm being more selective. So initially it was, a construction business we purchased because that was what was presented to us. And I grow to love the businesses that I purchased, or the ones I'm looking at. I'm passionate about small business. I'm passionate about profitable businesses. But initially it was, a construction business we decided to do. Specialty construction, and then we moved into roofing, and then we've moved into a manufacturing business. But I didn't hunt out those industries. But now, if someone was to bring a roofing company or another business industry that I'm in, that's more interesting to me because it's a roll up. We already have a platform.
Got it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you scale? Because I mean, in my mind, like, I get the roll up thing, because if you can roll multiple businesses up together, it's the same business you're running. But like, if you've just got this mishmash of different things, like, I can't imagine how many hours you devote to try and keep each one of these things going.
Because Steve would want to be an expert at every element
Oh yeah, I would,
of those businesses.
It would kill me.
I think the PwC experience helped me become an overseer, because I was working in these large businesses. There's no way I could learn all the businesses that were my clients when I was in the consulting world. And so I got used to checking the progress of the business, but from a high level, which is often, designing a scorecard that makes sense of key metrics you have to look at every week or every day, and just making sure it's going in the right direction. And if it's not, then you jump in. So that's kind of the approach that I have here. But in terms of scaling from this point, I mean, we have a business we're potentially looking at right now, but outside of the immediate things that we've got on our plate, I think the way to scale is actually, I'm looking to partner with my students. So we did mention my Instagram, Biz Buying Grit. which is my growing profile online. And then I have a community, the Business Buying Community, which has about 40 members in at the moment. And so those people in the community, we've gone through the education of how to buy a small business. And very soon we intend to launch Fund My Deal. So people in the community can bring a deal to us and apply for financing, because that way we would become a minority owner of the business, and they would be the operator and do it. Because at some point my brain will explode if too many active businesses. But I think there's so much opportunity here, and it's really fun. In my community, we've had 6 people buy businesses so far, and it's been really exciting to see. And so if we can start to fund other people make a ton of money and change their lives, and we can be on the ride with them, I think it's win-win, So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for.
Do you generally have, a pretty good operator for each one of these businesses? Are you taking that role initially? Does the previous owner stay on sometimes in that role? How does that work?
It's a mix, and I don't take the company manager role. I don't think I would probably be better than average, is probably my self-assessment, but I wouldn't be great at it. We've done several things. We've kept the seller on to manage, whilst we've then tried to hire externally. We've also identified someone in the existing business we're purchasing who could step up into the company manager role. You can also find someone who wants to put some skin in the game and be involved somehow, but actually wants to be a CEO. Some people want to be CEO as well. So there's, I guess, 4 options. I don't want to be CEO. I want to be CEO of the holding company, because I think that's what I'm better at.
Right.
But I won't do the operations. If I did that, my head would explode, because it's different industries.
Right.
And so there's pros and cons to being in different industries. I think I'm more de-risked because I'm not all in one sector. But yeah, I couldn't operate all of those disparate businesses.
What's the long-term goal for the Business Buying Brit?
So the honest answer is, when I set out to do this, I felt like I was uniquely qualified to do this, and I always wanted to do it. And so let's just start. But I'm the type of person that I need to have that final goal in my head. And so sometimes you set these goals, you don't really know if they're achievable. It's like, I'm just going to set it, but I need to know where I'm marching on the days where I don't feel like getting out of bed, or I don't know, working hard or whatever. So I set the goal of this is a huge opportunity. There's trillions of dollars. I want to build a holding company that does $100 million a year in annual revenue. And honestly, we're approaching 20% of the way there, which is really, I can't believe that after 2 years. But I'm less motivated now by the 100 million than I was when I started, but I needed to tell myself that to start.
Right.
But now that we're approaching 20, there's none of the businesses are ever perfect. There's always things we're tweaking or working on, or areas we're trying to grow into. But once these things that we're working on are kind of fully stabilized, and we've paid off the rest of the seller debt, the acquisition debt, then what I'm currently grappling with is, how much do I want to sacrifice to go from 20 million a year to 100 million a year?
Right.
I won't sacrifice my relationship with my wife or my kids for that. There's no way.
Right.
And I'm getting more into health. So, I mean, these things are more important, but I would like to continue growing. So I guess we'll just see at what pace. But I guess the short answer is, I'd like to see if it's possible to create this holding company that does $100 million a year in revenue. I don't really care about revenue, but everyone understands revenue. So it's easy to communicate that.
Sure.
And it just helps me think that I've still got many multiples to go.
How much fallout is there? You said, sometimes you want to cry when a deal doesn't work out. How many deals do you pitch, I guess, they go through versus don't?
It's funny now, because less deals go through now than when at the beginning. I think at the beginning I was trying to shoehorn any opportunity.
Right.
This has got to work somehow. Now it really has to make sense. So I probably look at maybe 1 in 10 it actually becomes a deal.
That's probably still good numbers, though.
Yeah, maybe I cut some things out before they even get to me,
Right.
But that's a lot of emotional energy to drive to meet up with the seller. I've flown to different states as well now, because I am considering out of state deals, as long as I have a local partner who's nearby that's got skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I have done several flights to different states to meet families, and it's not just, I don't really mind about the expense, but there's a lot of emotional energy,
Right.
you know, again, to do those trips. So maybe 1 in 10 is actually not bad, but it feels like a lot of energy expended for one actual completed company.
Have you ever gone back to see like what happened with the other 9? If they're still trying to sell, if they've just closed down, if someone else stepped in and bought them, or do you ever turn over any of those deals to your network?
Yes, I do turn deals over now at this point, especially if they're someone's better suited for it, or it's not in my geography and I don't want to be out of state for a certain deal. So I definitely turn them over. We do get outbid quite a lot at the moment. And like, you know, I think again, starting, I've got better at this. So the first deal, you know, by all objective measures, I did overpay. And so now I'm more sensitive to that. So the last few that I've really wanted to be a deal, I've come second in the bidding. You know, it's heartache, but then, you know, you've got to learn from the previous mistakes. So yeah, sometimes I just get outbid. So I checked in with someone 2 weeks ago, just sent them a text and was like, "Hey, did you ever sell?" He's like, "Yeah, sold to the guy that outbid you." So okay, cool. Well, good luck. Hope
Right.
good luck with whatever comes next. I'll stop texting you.
Are you still, you know, actively looking at real estate deals, or have you kind of shifted focus to businesses now?
That is an interesting topic. We are doing real estate, but we're pivoted to commercial buildings, and it's commercial buildings for the businesses. So I guess the strategy is get the business secure, operating well, and then get owner-occupied financing for a commercial building. Because I mean, you guys are more versed in real estate than me because I'm in and out. You do this all day, every day. You can get really good owner-occupied financing. Up until recently, you could get 5% down for some owner-occupied commercial building. I don't think that's available now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's still way better than 30% down for an investor commercial piece. And then you're already paying rent, so then you're just kind of paying left pocket, right pocket. You're just diversifying your wealth, and you're paying into an asset that you'll have for forever, probably.
Mm-hmm. Let's switch things up to something maybe a little more personal. Let's talk about the American citizenship. Like when did you decide that was important, and you know, talk to us about that experience.
Oh yeah, so trying to think how to package this up. I mean, being an American's become more and more important to me. I did think I was coming here just for 2 years in 2015. And then honestly, Jordan, my wife, would probably have happily moved to the UK, but I wanted to stay here. My love for this country has grown slowly over time. And you know, I think it's good to keep politics out of this conversation, but like my love for the country has grown, and you know, my wife's American, my kids are American, my views on certain things have changed over time, and I've realized that the opportunity that you have here that currently exists, whether or not the opportunity window is closing over time, whatever, we don't, whether that's true or not, we can debate that, all that political stuff. It is true that there's
different
an amazing,
podcast.
there's a different podcast. There's an amazing amount of opportunity right now in the US, and I haven't seen that anywhere else.
It's a great time to be alive.
I guess I'd say
and to be an American.
I guess I'd say I've got an immigrant mentality in a way, as in I'm like, wow, this is really cool, and I've just fallen in love with the country more and more. And so even though my wife would happily move to the UK, I think I'm like, I feel like this is the right place for us, at least in this chapter. And so yeah, it made sense that of course I go from my visa to my green card, but then that's still not permanent, and so I just wanted to become a citizen. So that's cool. It's happened this year.
Wow. So it's official.
It's official. I've got a certificate of naturalization, and I got a letter.
Did you like have to stand there and do the?
I did
Pledge. And all
I got a letter from Biden.
Wow.
I've got a certificate. I had to do the thing.
Yeah.
Oath of allegiance, everything. Pledge of allegiance.
So not saying anything political. Are you going to vote this year?
I'm going to vote.
You're going to. This will be your first official time to vote.
Yeah, I'm going to vote.
Is this November?
Yeah.
Very exciting.
I've got my form to. In fact, my form, I think, to register to vote is in that bag that I just brought in. So
make sure you get it in.
On my to-do list.
Make sure you get it in. Some places you can't vote if you don't register early.
That's true.
So
So that's what I'm going to do. But I don't know if you needed or wanted to know anything else with that. But it's just it was quite emotional to become an American because we started the process in 2017 for me to become an American.
oh
Oh,
wow.
wow.
So 6-7 years. That's a long time, and I did feel secure in that time, but it wasn't ever permanent.
Right.
So it something in that was emotional on the day where I stood before the
Yeah.
judge and announced myself.
I
It was
love
amazing that day when I was in the courthouse because there's I think 40 nationalities represented. And so
Wow.
everyone stands up, and it's amazing. I was the only British person there, but
Really?
you'd think it would be, Britain, Australia,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
Right.
It was a whole array of countries. It was really amazing, actually.
Well, that is what makes America amazing,
Mm-hmm.
is because we are everybody. That's
Mm-hmm.
the whole point.
The sad thing is he probably knows through going through that process, he probably knows more about American history and civics and all those things than most of the people that have grown up here.
Well, it's probably not wrong.
I got one question wrong in my exam,
Ooh, you want
Oh.
to tell us?
and it was about the author of the Federalist Papers. Got
the
it wrong.
author of the Federalist Papers.
Madison.
I think Hamilton would have
I was
got you
gonna
a
say,
green,
isn't
a
it-
green check.
Isn't
but
it
and I
Hamilton?
almost said that, and then I went for another classic, and I got it wrong.
Pretty sure.
I can't
I'm
remember
pretty
what
sure
I
it's
said.
Yeah,
Hamilton.
it could be Hamilton. Yeah.
I think there's
There's
like
a
a
couple-
whole
There's a couple of
Yeah.
acceptable answers.
Broadway show about it.
Someone will correct us on here, I'm sure.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be the primary comment underneath this YouTube video.
Yep.
It's this, you idiot.
So, coming from abroad, and we've talked to a lot of people about this.
Meaning,
I wish
meaning from across the.
from somewhere outside of America.
Oh, okay.
originally, yeah. I wish more people would travel internationally and understand how good things are here.
Hmm.
For real.
I think it's just you don't realize it unless you have that exposure to other other cultures, other countries, and I mean the opportunity here is just it's unlike anywhere else, I think.
Well, travel changes everything. You're enriched beyond what you could ever imagine by getting to know people from different cultures and then coming back and applying what you've learned.
So you're both saying, like, you're almost saying two opposite things, but both very true. As in, it's by traveling you become enriched because you
Right.
see the world and you realize it's not just
That's my experience.
Americans.
Right.
It's there's beautiful cultures all over the world,
Right.
Yep.
and we can learn a lot from the ways to do things. Like,
Absolutely.
so my wife loves how in England we all live in these smaller homes and communities are a lot tighter, so you don't have the
certain ones of you live in smaller homes.
Well, yeah.
The ones we see on TV don't.
Who are you talking about? The royal family?
Yeah, the ones that we see thrown in our faces all the time.
I don't think that.
Well, the sirs are all doing pretty well. Too.
All the sirs.
That's
right.
true. Yeah, so that I think Americans have a skewed view of what British life is like. But again, speaking generally, in England, smaller homes, you don't have the armies of nannies, housekeepers. It's often
Right.
common in American life. And so, like, there's some really nice tightness of community there. You can walk to the shops, all of this stuff. So there's things to be learned from cultures, but then also, to Steve's point, I think, yeah, people. It's easy right now to hate on America. People are hating on America, and actually, I don't think they realize
we are often two sides of the same coin.
People don't realize how good this country is, and right now it seems to be pretty popular to tear down the American flag and burn it, and then put other flags up. It's like, well, I don't think they want to go to those countries that they're putting the flags up. So
yeah,
it's it's interesting, but I agree with what both of you are saying.
It's a good day to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fantastic day. That's what I say.
So someone that might be interested in buying a business, going down this route, becoming more of an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them?
They're in their job. They like it. They hate it. Something.
I think you've got to start to soak in information that aligns with what you want to do. So it's foolish to just quit immediately and just hope that you can put things together to make a living. So
Right.
I mean, people like to hate on social media, but actually you can curate your inputs very well on social media now.
What do you
So
mean?
you could follow, if you're interested in business buying, you could follow Biz Buying Brit and
Okay.
get daily input on how to buy business. So maybe 2 years from now, that's something you're interested in.
Gotcha.
And whatever the field is you're interested in, you could start to do that. I think being educated is obviously important. At some point, you have enough knowledge and you have to just decide, am I going to do this or not? And there has to be a leap at some point. You'll never know 100% of what you need in order to do this next thing that you have. And I think we're all uniquely created by God. We all have slightly unique skills, giftings, talents, callings. But at some point, I think deep down what you should be doing or what you want to do. And at some point, you just have to decide, am I going to be timid or am I just going to leap in and build the parachute on the way down?
What's the process of joining your group?
So I actually have a cohort starting tonight. I teach on Tuesday nights, but actually this is the last cohort that I am. So by the time this comes out, this will be well underway. So this is my last cohort in this current format. In the summer, I'm planning a repackaging and rebranding of my offerings. There'll be a couple different tiers. And so then I'm excited to launch that. So soon, keep following me on Biz Buying Brit, and I'll announce it as soon as it's ready. And so I'm hoping to educate more people and help more people buy businesses for themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you want to send us a URL or something, we'll put it in the caption on this and direct people there.
That'd be great. I'd love to.
Do they get a discount if they click on it through us?
Well, you want an affiliate arrangement?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Are you asking for a commission, man?
Yeah. I wasn't asking for that. I was just thinking, did they get a discount? I don't know.
We can talk about it, man.
Well,
working for you, people. I'm working for you.
James, it was good catching up. Good to see you again. I appreciate you coming on the show. And yeah, you have any last words? Or
I think if often I get asked, like, what's the difference maker, and I just want to make sure it's not intelligence, it's not background. Often it's just,
although you have all of that.
It depends who you ask, but like I think the difference maker is taking action. So that is what I'm big on at the moment. At some point, you just have to take action. And so, like, if you are considering this, yeah, it may not be business buying, maybe, but if it could be something else. But at some point, you just have to stop with the whole analysis paralysis. I see it all the time. You just have to leap.
I just love the whole arc of your career life that I've been able to
you've
watch.
seen a lot. You've seen a lot.
You and your buddy Simons, they were house hacking. They were house hacking when they were young. Sleeping on a sofa, letting renters rent their actual rooms, and
we didn't even talk about your musical days.
And, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, lots of different. Yeah, but that ties into the action part with Simon. Right. So you're referring to this whole thing started with Simon with our investing when we got an apartment together, but we shared a bedroom to rent out my bedroom and the sofa in the living room.
I mean, they literally
that ties back to action. We didn't want just to be normal, so we wanted to do something different.
And now look at you both rocking.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Yes, you are. It's incredible.
Well, James, it was a pleasure, and we will see you guys next time. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Behind the Curtain, Nashville's movers, shakers,
and taste makers.
We hope you've been inspired by the stories of passion, perseverance, and innovation right here in Nashville.
A big thank you to our guests for sharing their journeys, and to you, our listeners, for joining us. And of course, our gratitude to Chord Real Estate for making this conversation possible.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform.
Thank us.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I guess I did. Well, thank us. Okay.
Like I was saying.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite platform to catch every episode, and hit that notification bell. We've got plenty more fascinating guests lined up, ready to share their insights and inspirations.
And we love hearing from you. So reach out to us with your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for who you'd like to hear from next.
Until next time, keep chasing your dreams and making your mark in Nashville.
Oh, my goodness.
Remember,
am I talking to Casey
it's
Kasem?
the people behind the scenes that make the city shine.
I love it. Take care. See you behind the curtain.